This audio fiction may contain elements not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
Scene 1. 1,000 years ago. Heart of the Oberoni Forest. Lota, the ruling druid king, wakes from a nightmare. He begins investigating what caused his unsettling feelings.
What?
Lota?
Nicey, my love. I woke up to this.
Is the grass dead?
Not exactly. My prayers aren't enough to restore it to life. It's as if something is wrong with the plant life. I have to keep channeling my prayer for long periods of time to stave off the discolored grasses.
Unforgiving and ever-changing is your essence.
Unforgiving and ever-changing is your essence. Unforgiving and ever-changing is your essence. Unforgiving and ever-changing is your essence. It's working!
There we are then, my love. In the morning, we will have more light to see the extent of whatever this is.
Right.
Why are you up in the midst of the night?
I woke up with this terrible feeling, so I investigated, and I found whatever that was.
That's alright. It'll be alright. We already know we can pray to Avani together and undo the damage.
I suppose so.
Scene 2. 11 years ago, Hemlock Lagoon Settlement. On a boat that is returning home from a trading post, Tirtha and Kellman begin a conversation.
What's the matter? I always feel heavy when we return from trading. What? Tired from traveling? We all feel that way now and again. It's not that. Something always feels off here. Wrong. Unnatural. Like using magic in the middle of a forest. I never thought about that before. I don't know what it is. Don't worry about it. It's probably just me. But I should begin looking for plants again later today or tomorrow. You should. The last batch of dyes you made turned out beautifully. I think I'll use tonight to rest. Then I'll head out scouting for the plants that I can harvest. And if I find any plants that can be harvested, who knows, I may start a fresh batch of dyes. And if you see anything I can use... Of course. Do you need anything specific? Well, with it being early spring, anything I can use in fever remedies. Eucalyptus, mint, cinnamon. Got it.
Scene 3. 11 years ago, Purified Forest. This is the day-to-day activity of a lone druid.
Althor sat before a small patch of blighted grass. He held his hand over the infected area and then he whispered a prayer to Avani, the nature goddess. He pleaded for her aid in healing the unsettling presence in the forest. A faint smile crossed his lips when the grass returned to normal. Satisfied that the blighted area had been healed, he pushed himself up. He began walking the path again, looking for other patches of the ethereal blight that plagued the sacred place where one of Avani's children once walked. The brunette man stopped. He stooped down beside another area affected by the blight. He repeated the same prayer he always said on behalf of ousting the blight around the swamp. After the blight was gone, he continued on his way, walking on the dirt path towards the edge of the purified area.
Scene 4. Present day, Stormtide Beach. 3 of the Sama, a warmongering race of mortals, wake up and find that they are shipwrecked and stranded.
Wake up!
Oh, where are we? And how long have we been here?
Your guess is as good as any of ours, but we're surrounded by salt water, it looks like it's going to storm again, and by the Creator God, we can only guess what supplies we have.
We should find out before the clouds break. May the 8 protect us.
Yes, of course. Let's begin searching for supplies. I'll be searching for an area to make camp away from the ocean should there be flooding.
Scene 5. Present day, Purified Forest. Izar, a high elf mage, decides to show her husband Rurik the results of her latest experiment.
It's right over here. I need somebody else to see this.
Alright, I'm coming. But what about this is so urgent?
I've been studying this blight, which, according to all of you, is everywhere, and not just where I've been in this swamp.
Alright. And from your insistence and eagerness, I assume you found something?
I think so. This is the second jar I've had to keep this sample in.
Why'd you change jars? And why is there dust?
To answer both of your questions, because that dust was the first jar.
The Blight did that?
It did. Whatever it is, it seems that it doesn't just make things wilt and die.
Then what does it do?
Based on what it did to the glass jar I had it in, it makes things age rapidly.
And what would it do to a person, you think?
That is decidedly not an experiment I want to find an answer to. But based on what it did to this glass jar after a week, I imagine that a person would age to death within the same time frame.
Ugh, that...
Exactly. So I don't know if that helps us find a permanent solution to this blight or not yet, but at least we know what it does, rather than just thinking it's some unnatural plague.
For all we know, it is an unnatural plague, unless you found out what causes it.
Right, I misspoke. We know what it does, so it's more than just an unnatural plague.
So any idea why Althor can dispel it?
His powers are granted by the goddess of nature. If anything is going to dispel something unnatural, it'd be the magics of Avani.
Do you think Tirtha has ever tried? Since she should also be able to use Avani's magic.
I don't know, you're the one who's known her forever, so you'd have to tell me.
It never occurred to me to ask until right now.
That's fine, but that said, we ought to take this jar to go have Althor do something about it.
Scene 6. 1,000 years ago, outskirts of Avanian village. An ethereal being crosses from the ethereal plane to the mortal plane.
Watching, curious, from beyond the veil they sat, these mortal beings, strange and contradictory, seemed more and more curious the longer they were watched. A deeper understanding became longed for more than just what watching could give. The very concept of time stepped across the ethereal veil. The entity found itself among the models he enjoyed watching. Curious about itself, the concept of time approached the nearby still water. It looked down at the reflection of its mortal form. Sharp, yet attractive features stared back at him. It had taken on the appearance of a male, a dark-skinned elf, with red eyes and dark flaxen hair that draped over his shoulders in wisps. He looked up when he heard the rustling of leaves.
Oh, by the gods, what are you doing here? What is your name?
I wandered here, and my name is Tirtha.
You must be cold. Come with me. We can get you something to wear.
Scene 7. Present day, Stormtide Beach. Several of the Sama begin discussing their survival plan.
What are we going to do for water?
After resting, we can begin carving out a dip in the rocks further back from the salt water. We can then move the water magically. Then we can begin separating the salt from the water by boiling the water in the few pans that were recovered. That way, we move the fresh water into a separate pool of water. Keep a small pool of water for now, until we can find one.
And what do we do otherwise?
We wait out the storm. We'll begin hunting for our food soon after that. There has to be fruit nearby, if nothing else. That should feed us and keep us hydrated.
Scene 8. 998 years ago, Avanian village. The ethereal being now has reason to feel attached to the mortal plane.
You are so beautiful, so precious. You will live a long, happy life and have children of your own, my son. You will one day know this sensation of simultaneous joy and fear. Your mother and I are going to make certain you have a happy life.
Scene 9. 12 years ago, Sky Point City. Izar's experiences start to shape her life's path.
Izar sighed happily as she put down her book. As far as the young woman was concerned, it was another masterpiece about magic, knowledge, love, and a search for all three of those things. She picked up her pen and the notebook she kept on hand at all times, before looking at it for a moment, contemplating her next action. She glanced to either side of herself. On one side, a stack of tomes and books for the study of magic, and on the other, a similarly sized stack of romance novels. She smiled and returned her attention to the notebook. Opening it up, she put her pen to paper, where she had left off on the first draft of her own masterpiece to be.
Scene 10. 11 years ago. Purified Forest. Tirtha is walking through a vibrant, colorful forest where she has never been before. Althor is suspicious of visitors.
So beautiful.
And just who are you?
I'm a dye maker. I'm collecting the plants I need, see?
I see. And what are you doing here?
I was scouting for plants and berries that ripen in the early spring, and I found this beautiful forest.
Right. My forest, which I didn't give you permission to enter. Why are you in my forest?
Your forest? What do you mean?
I'm its caretaker. I make sure it doesn't end up looking like the swamps surrounding it.
You're a druid?
I am.
That's amazing. Oh, you've done something wonderful. This place is so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tirtha. Tirtha Camperspring.
Althor Grimleaf.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Avani truly selected a wonderful guardian for this place.
If you're done trying to flatter me...
Flatter you? I'm not trying to flatter you. I truly can't express to you how beautiful and peaceful this place is to
So
me.
you allege.
Is something the matter?
Nobody comes out this far. Ever.
This is the first time I've ever come this far. But I try to spread out where I collect plants to use, so here I am.
I see.
You don't have to worry. No others would wander out this far. The others I know would rather stay close to where they're settled. That's quite a distance from here. Nobody will ruin your efforts.
Again, so you allege. I have no reason to believe you, you must realize.
Would you like me to show you where I'm from?
And how exactly would you intend to do that?
Take you there. Show you just how far I've traveled. Put your mind at ease since you're very nervous.
And leave the forest unguarded? You think me a fool?
Not at all. But it seemed polite to make the offer.
And what will it take for you to leave?
I'll leave if you'd prefer to be alone.
I would prefer to know you'll not harm my forest.
I have no intention of ever harming your forest. I know you have no reason to believe me, but it's true. I have a deep appreciation for your Avani favor and what you're doing.
So far, that seems to be true. If you'd like, you may take a few plants with you.
You'll let me make dye from one of the plants here?
One.
Oh, these can be made to make the most vibrant, beautiful colors.
You are certain that these are what you want?
Oh yes, that color.
Care for them well.
Oh, thank you, Althor.
You're welcome. Now leave.
Goodbye, Althor.
I said leave.
Right.
I do hope that you can forgive me.
Scene 11. 998 years ago. Heart of the Oberoni Forest. Lota, the Druid King, begins investigating the damages of the Blight attacking the crops of the area.
What do you mean the vegetables are doing worse?
I don't know what is happening. There is no blight. There aren't animals wandering nearer to our gardens. The vegetables are simply not growing.
But without vegetables, we, animals in surrounding areas. No, this unnatural presence must be the cause. We druids can push it back. We don't have a choice.
I'm sorry I don't bring better news.
I would rather know than be surprised. How this keeps getting into the borders of our tribe's lands, I simply do not understand. Unforgiving and ever-changing is your essence. There. Tending to your garden over the next few days should be easier. Please tell me if you find trouble again.
Scene 12. Two of the Sama are walking through a forest. They discover there are druids living nearby.
Please tell me you heard that.
There is a settlement here.
Daddy, can I do it?
Of course. Good job.
When are you gonna teach me to do that?
If you want to try, we only need to find another area of blighted plants. Let's see if we can find some.
Yes!
Those were the thinnest wood elves I have ever seen.
And some of them were really dark-skinned and really light-skinned. That was a lot of variation for one father.
So you think there is a settlement nearby? A large one?
Or that man has several mates. But I'm more interested in not knowing exactly where that diverse of gene groupings happens in the world. Wood elves are xenophobic. That's why our king has had a difficult time getting druid blood in his heirs.
Should we press on?
Of course. Oh, right. We're in a disgusting foggy forest with dangerous reptiles.
Scene 13. 9.5 years ago. Saltwind Port. Tirtha and Kellman are setting up their wares for when the bazaar opens. Vipin, a traveling merchant, is walking through a bazaar in a trade city.
My apologies, miss. I didn't see you.
It's all right.
Oh, you're setting up. My apologies, miss. I should leave. Bless the body. She was gorgeous.
He was... wow. Tirtha!
What's wrong? Why are you panicking?
How did you talk to Althor when you first met him?
I'm so confused.
I saw the most handsome man and I couldn't even speak.
Oh, you have a crush. That's adorable. But you can just remember that handsome men are just as nervous around beautiful women as they make us feel.
Easy for you to say.
Scene 14. Present day, Sama Cave Settlement. The Sama begin discussing what to do about the druids that live nearby.
You're telling us that there are wood elves nearby?
We both saw them. They were doing something with the plants on the ground. We weren't close enough to see exactly what.
Exactly. They're wood elf druids. We may have ended up on one of the sacred domains.
No, we're nowhere near a druid domain. Our course was past several islands with a direct path to the Hajir Isles. And nothing but the Hajir and our people inhabit those islands.
How do you explain it then? I doubt we missed entire druid settlements when we were attempting to procure druid blood from the royal family heirs a few years ago.
I can't explain it, but truly, the only domain near the coast is the Narenis domain. There are not enough mountains nearby, nor wandering orc tribes. But these cannot be wood elf druids.
They were too thin to have significant amounts of orc blood at that.
Regardless of all that, there is a small settlement nearby. We found some traps and gardens, so we should be able to live off of this. We do have pans to cook.
You're going to have to take us to where you found these.
We will, after we eat. But all of you need to be alert. Don't let them see you. Otherwise, we will need to begin hunting and gardening for ourselves.
Scene 15. 2 months ago, outskirts of the Sama Cave Settlement. The two leaders of the Sama begin discussing what they want to do about the druids, separate from the others.
You seem certain that there is druid blood among them. Just from watching them?
Many of the children not only reference Ivani, but they seem to be able to use her magic. So any of us who are loyal to our king, we can return with a wonderful gift.
That would mean we would need to find a way home. And none of us know how to build ships. It is not something we can risk failing at. Whomever is on board the ship could die.
I suppose you are right. You have considered bringing a druid back to the settlement, then?
It crossed my mind. But you are thinking too hard about this. Eventually, we can reach our homeland again. But our druid offering does not have to be a full-fledged wood elf druid. There are other ways to procure the druid bloodline.
You think they would willingly breed with us?
I haven't asked. But I cannot imagine a reason why they wouldn't agree to such marriages. All governments see them as politically sound, no?
Of course. So long as nobody goes back on their word openly. But There are no children here.
We'll have to tell the others about this and hear out their thoughts. But if we assume we're going to stay here for a long while, we might as well encourage breeding.
Exactly. But if they don't agree?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
Scene 16. 15 years ago, Golden Plains Village. Vipin makes a crucial life decision.
Vipin sighed as he shouldered the bag he spent the past week packing in secret. He sighed as he walked from his room to the front door of his home, his eyes passing over and taking in the details of the familiar walls as he went. He shook his head, knowing his parents wouldn't miss him. Despite his talent as a hunter and a trapper, never once did they ever pay him the attention that they lavished upon his brother, whom had been discovered to have druidic talents from a young age. Not that he ever begrudged his brother for those abilities, the hunter believing them to be fascinating or inspiring himself. However, he had come to learn society would not see Vipin's own gifts as particularly worthwhile, especially in comparison to those of his brother. That was why he'd made the decision that he had. Leave his home and travel, living off the land on his own. He quietly opened the door and took one last look around before shaking his head once more and stepping outside, into the night and the beginning of his own new life.
Scene 17. Tirtha discovers there are vegetables missing from the garden.
Althor? Althor, did you collect any tomatoes or peppers after your walk last night?
No, I didn't. Why?
Oh, because I remember seeing more nearly ripe tomatoes and peppers yesterday that I was saving to pick for today.
That's odd. Plants don't just disappear like that.
Do you think Rurik, Izar, Vipin, Kellman, maybe one of the children took them?
That doesn't sound like something any of them would do. Not without our permission.
Given how early it is, they may have taken some without wanting to wake us.
Maybe. Still unlikely, though.
What else could it be?
Well, we could have thieves lurking about again. It's been quite some time since the last time. But
our children run freely through the forest. We can't hope to keep them peacefully inside until we catch the thief.
Right. The best we can do is let Vipin, Kellman, Rurik, and Izar know so that they can keep an eye out, and hope that they find the thief before our children do.
Any of the children finding the thieves would be bad, if that is in fact what's happening. I'm going to finish collecting food for lunch and dinner then. I think one of us needs to visit our friends.
Right. We can do that.
I hope the children were playing in the garden.
We both do.
More thieves in the area could be fairly bad.
It would be.
Stay within earshot in case there are thieves lurking around our home.
Of course, love.